Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Christ, today I want to talk about something divine, something prophetic, something that has been stirring in your spirit even when you couldn't explain it. The message I bring you today is you are the chosen one. Something big, something beyond your understanding is moving around your life. It may not always look like it. It may not always feel like it, but heaven itself is orchestrating something through you. The trials you're facing, the delays you don't understand, the doors that closed, and even the pain you've endured, none of it is random. Because when God chooses someone, he doesn't play small. He sets a stage so that his glory can be revealed through your story. My friends, pleading with you today, not in anger, but in love, he's saying, don't give up. Don't run away. Don't mistake the shaking for my absence. Something big is playing with you, divine purpose, holy calling, destiny itself. And if you can only see it through the eyes of faith, you'll realize that everything you've been through has been preparing you for what's about to unfold. If this message has stirred something deep within you, if you felt God speaking to your heart today, don't just keep it to yourself. Take a step of faith. Follow this channel for more messages that awaken your spirit and remind you of who you truly are in Christ. Hit that subscribe button, because every time you do, you're saying yes to growth, purpose, to divine direction. Drop a comment below and share what God is revealing to you. Your words might be the encouragement someone else needs today. And don't forget to press that like button, not just for the algorithm, but as a declaration that you are part of the 99 who will rise, who will believe, and who will walk boldly in their calling. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Stay connected, stay faithful, and stay ready for what God is about to do. Say, you are the chosen one is not a statement of pride. It is a revelation of purpose. There are moments in life when you feel unseen, unqualified, or overlooked, and yet are often the very moments that reveal God's divine selection. When God chooses someone, he doesn't pick them because they are perfect. He picks them because he can perfect them through his plan. You might think your past disqualifies you, but in truth, it's often your past that positions you for what's ahead. God doesn't look for the most polished or the most popular. He looks for the most willing. The chosen are often the broken, the humble, and the ones who've been through the fire, but still have a spark of faith left burning inside. Being chosen means you have been set apart, not because you earned it, because God saw something eternal within you. The chosen walk a path that others may not understand. Sometimes it's a lonely road filled with battles that no one else sees. You might wonder why life feels heavier for you, why the attacks are more intense, or why you face doors that refuse to open. It's because the enemy recognizes the potential in your anointing. He sees what God has placed inside you and fears what will happen when you finally step into it. The chosen are tested not to break them, but to build their endurance, faith, and obedience. When God called David, he was just a shepherd boy forgotten in the fields, but heaven already saw a king. When God called Moses, he was a fugitive with a stutter, but God saw a leader who would stand before Pharaoh. When God called Esther, she was a young woman with no status, but he saw a deliverer who would save a nation. The pattern is clear. God chooses ordinary people for extraordinary purposes. You may feel like you're still in the wilderness, waiting for your moment, but even there, God is preparing your heart, shaping your character, and training your spirit for the calling ahead. Being chosen means being trusted with weight. It means carrying burdens others might not understand, walking through seasons of silence, and holding on to faith when everything around you screams otherwise. But remember, the chosen don't walk alone. God goes before them, beside them, and within them. Every setback becomes a setup. Every disappointment becomes divine redirection. Every delay becomes an opportunity for deeper dependence on him. You have been chosen to shine light where there is darkness, speak life where there is despair, and to stand firm when others fall away. You were chosen before you even knew your own name, before the world could label you, before the pain could define you. That calling is not accidental, it is eternal. So when you feel unworthy, remember that your worth was never based on what you could do, but on what God has already declared over you. Being chosen doesn't mean life will be easy, but it does mean your life will have meaning beyond measure. When life feels unbearable, when pain seems unending, and when your prayers echo back in silence, it's easy to question whether God still has a plan. But his plan has never been limited by your pain. In fact, it is often through pain that his greatest purposes are revealed. God's plan is greater than your current pain, even when the circumstances suggest otherwise. Pain is not evidence of his absence. It's proof that he is preparing something deeper within you. Discomfort you feel today might be the very soil in which your destiny is growing. There are seasons when God allows breaking so he can bring forth blessing. Just as gold must be refined through fire, where your spirit must pass through trials to be purified, strengthened, and aligned with his divine will. Every tear you've cried, every disappointment you've faced, every battle that has left you weary, they are not meaningless. They are sacred tools in the hands of a God who never wastes anything. Pain that once made you question him might one day become the testimony that glorifies him. You cannot always trace his hand, but you can always trust his heart. Sometimes God hides his purpose inside your pain because only through that struggle can he shape the character needed to carry his promise. Joseph's story reminds us that betrayal and hardship can be the very path to destiny, thrown into a pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, and imprisoned for crimes he didn't commit. Yet, all along, God was guiding every step. Each painful event was a divine setup, positioning him for the palace. What felt like rejection was actually redirection. The same is true for you. God is not finished just because you are hurting. He is still writing your story in the silence, still weaving meaning through the mess. There are moments when the weight feels unbearable because you are carrying something sacred. Pain often precedes promotion. Before resurrection, there must be crucifixion. Before the crown must be the cross. The deeper the pain, the greater the purpose behind it. You may not see it now, but what you are enduring is building spiritual muscle, divine endurance, and a faith that cannot be shaken. God's plan is not to destroy you, but to develop you, to prepare you for a glory that your present pain cannot yet reveal. When you walk through seasons of darkness, it doesn't mean the light is gone. It means the light is being revealed in a new way. God uses your pain to pull you closer, to awaken you to dependence, to remind you that strength is not found in control, but in surrender. Pain has a way of stripping away distractions, of making you listen, of realigning your heart with his voice. What seems like delay is often divine timing. What feels like loss is often protection. What appears as an ending is often the birth of something greater. You may not understand it yet, but every ache in your heart is known by God and held within his purpose. The shaking is not your ending, it's preparation. When everything around you begins to tremble, when what once felt secure starts to crumble, it's easy to assume that life is falling apart. But what if it's not falling apart at all? What if it's falling into place? God often allows the shaking not to destroy you, but to detach you from what cannot go with you into the next season. The ground beneath you may tremble because he is shifting your foundation, removing the temporary so that he can build something eternal. The shaking is not punishment, it's positioning. Before promotion comes purification. God will shake loose everything that's been holding you back. The fear, the doubt, the toxic relationships, the false identities you've clung to for comfort. He shakes you so that only what is unshakable can remain. The Apostle Paul wrote that Everything that can be shaken will be shaken, so that what cannot be shaken will endure. It's in those moments of divine disruption that faith becomes real. When the familiar disappears, when your plans collapse, when your control is gone, that's when you finally discover the strength that was hidden in your spirit all along. Sometimes the shaking comes through loss, sometimes through betrayal, sometimes through doors that close unexpectedly. You cry out, asking why it had to happen, not realizing that God's no was actually his mercy. You see, the shaking exposes what was unstable. It reveals where your trust has been misplaced. Maybe you trusted your job more than your calling, people more than God, comfort more than conviction. But when God begins to shake things up, he is realigning your focus, teaching you to build your life on the only foundation that cannot be moved, his presence, his purpose, his promise. Think of how a tree grows stronger after a storm. The wind shakes it, bends it, tests it, but in that process, the roots go deeper. The same is true for you. Every time your world shakes, your spiritual roots have the opportunity to grow deeper in God. The shaking drives you to prayer, dependence to a faith that can't be easily uprooted. God doesn't allow the storm because he wants to see you break. He allows it because he wants to see you stand firm. The shaking refines your priorities and sharpens discernment. It separates what's fleeting from what's forever. Even Jesus faced shaking. In Gethsemane, his soul trembled under the weight of his mission. On the cross, the earth itself quaked as heaven and hell collided. Yet from that shaking came salvation. The same principle applies to your life. The greater the shaking, the greater the revelation that follows. So when everything feels unstable, remember that God is still in control. He hasn't abandoned you in the shaking. He is working through it. Every trembling moment is breaking off what no longer serves your destiny and preparing you for what's coming next. The shaking is not your ending. It's the evidence that something new is about to begin. Heaven is orchestrating every detail of your story, even the parts that don't make sense right now. Every event, every delay, every closed door, and unexpected turn, it's all part of a divine arrangement that is far greater than your understanding. When you look at your life piece by piece, it may appear chaotic or incomplete, but from heaven's perspective, every moment is fitting perfectly into a master design. God is not improvising with your destiny. He is conducting it like a symphony, turning even the off notes into harmony. Nothing is wasted, nothing is random, and nothing is outside of his control. You may not realize it, but heaven has been guiding you since the beginning. Before you were born, God already knew the paths you would take and the battles you would face. He foresaw the pain, the mistakes, the betrayals, and still he chose to weave them into your purpose. People you met, the opportunities you missed, the seasons that didn't go as planned, each one was necessary to position you exactly where you are today. What feels like delay is often divine timing. What seems like rejection is really redirection. God is never late. He's just aligning the details according to his perfect will. There are moments when it seems like everything is working against you, but behind the scenes, heaven is setting the stage. You might not see the full picture, but God is placing people in your path, aligning circumstances, and opening doors at the right time. Times he hides the process because if you saw the full plan, you might rush ahead or give up too soon. The waiting is part of the preparation. Heaven's timing is precise. It doesn't move by human schedules, but by divine purpose. You are not forgotten. You are being positioned. Consider the story of Joseph again. From the pit to Potiphar's house, from the prison to the palace, every step was guided by heaven. None of it was accidental. Each moment of suffering carried him closer to his destiny. When Joseph stood before Pharaoh, he finally saw how every painful chapter had been leading to that moment. The same is true for you. Heaven is arranging circumstances in ways you cannot yet see, connecting what feels disconnected, redeeming what feels lost, and shaping you for the purpose you were born to fulfill. Even in silence, heaven speaks. Even in pain, heaven moves. There are angels assigned to your journey, doors being prepared to open, and blessings waiting for the moment you're ready to carry them. When you walk by faith and not by sight, you align yourself with heaven's rhythm. What looks like coincidence is often divine coordination. Every conversation, every setback, every lesson, it's all part of God's careful orchestration. Things that once confused you will one day make sense when you look back and realize that heaven had been arranging your story all along, turning every trial into testimony, every delay into direction, and every step into divine purpose. Purpose is born through pressure. Every calling, every breakthrough, every revelation comes with its own weight. The pressure you feel is not meant to crush you, it's meant to form you. Just as a diamond is formed under immense heat and pressure, your purpose is being shaped through the intensity of what you're facing. Pressure is heaven's instrument of transformation. It strips away what's superficial and exposes what's eternal. Very situations that make you want to quit are often the ones designed to birth your strength, your clarity, and your destiny. You can't step into greatness without walking through the tension that prepares you for it. When you pray for purpose, you are unknowingly inviting pressure because purpose demands growth, and growth demands discomfort. The dreams God has placed in your heart are too heavy to rest on a foundation that hasn't been tested. That's why He allows seasons that challenge your patience, test your faith, and stretch your endurance. Pressure refines your motives and purifies your intentions. It makes sure that when you rise for the right reasons. The greater the calling, greater the crushing that precedes it. God doesn't use pressure to punish you. He uses it to prepare you. Look at how creation itself mirrors this truth. Seeds must break before they sprout. Clay must be pressed before it can be molded. Olive oil only flows when the olives are crushed. The same spiritual law applies to your life. The pressure you're feeling is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that something inside you is expanding. The dreams God planted in you are pushing against the limits of your current capacity. The weight you feel is proof that heaven is working through you, shaping you for what's next. Pressure also reveals what's inside you. When life squeezes you, whatever fills your heart will come out, faith or fear, praise or panic. That's why God allows the pressing, because it exposes what needs to be healed and strengthens what's already divine within you. It teaches you resilience. It forces you to depend on Him rather than your own understanding. It stretches your perspective so you can see that even the hardest seasons are sacred. Without pressure, potential would remain hidden. Without the struggle, you would never discover the strength God has placed within you. Sometimes the pressure comes through loss, sometimes through delay, sometimes through people walking away. It can make you feel like you're being buried, but in truth, you're being planted. What feels like the end is often the beginning of something greater. Pressure pushes you to pray deeper, to trust harder, believe when believing doesn't make sense. It teaches you to endure with grace and to find peace even when nothing around you feels stable. The same pressure that once overwhelmed you will one day become the testimony of how God refined you. Every crushing moment has a purpose. Every weight you carry is shaping your character, building your faith, and preparing you for the greatness that's waiting on the other side of your perseverance. And something big is already moving in your favor, even if you can't see it yet. There are moments in life when everything seems still, when you pray and hear no answer, when you work and see no progress. But silence is not absence. Stillness is not stagnation. Behind the curtain of the visible world, heaven is in motion. God is aligning people, places, and opportunities to intersect with your destiny at the appointed time. What looks like nothing happening is actually divine activity unfolding in perfect order. Something big is moving on your behalf, and the delay you feel is often the space where God is perfecting the details. You have no idea how many prayers have already been answered behind the scenes, how many battles have already been fought and won in the spiritual realm. God is working in ways that your natural eyes cannot perceive. Sometimes he withholds the evidence of his movement so that your faith can mature. If you could see everything he was doing, you would not need faith at all. So he conceals his process, but never abandons his promise. Something powerful is shifting in your favor right now. Timing, circumstances, hearts, and opportunities are being rearranged to fulfill the purpose spoken over your life. Think of how Joseph's story unfolded. While he was in prison, forgotten by men, heaven was preparing a throne for him in Pharaoh's palace. When it looked like nothing was happening, everything was happening. The same is true for you. When you feel overlooked, God is preparing your visibility. When you feel delayed, he is refining your readiness. The things you thought were setbacks are often strategic pauses. God is making sure that when the opportunity arrives, you are not just present, but prepared to carry it. Something big doesn't arrive before its time because premature blessings can become burdens. That's why God works in divine order, never too soon, never too late. There is a momentum in the unseen realm that's already turning situations in your favor. People you haven't met yet are being guided toward you. Doors you haven't even knocked on are being unlocked. Miracles you didn't know you needed are being arranged. What you perceive as delay is really synchronization. Heaven sensing your path with divine timing. Your responsibility is to remain faithful, to keep believing, to keep sowing even when the soil looks dry, because the harvest is already on its way. Something big moves when you move in faith. Every act of obedience releases spiritual momentum. Every word of gratitude amplifies what God is doing. Unseen responds to faith, not fear. So even when it feels like you're walking through uncertainty, keep moving forward with expectation. There's divine energy surrounding your life, favor being released, opportunities being set, and answers being delivered. God has not forgotten you. He is preparing something beyond your imagination. You can't trace his hand right now. You will soon see that every delay, every detour, and every difficulty was part of the motion that carried you straight into divine breakthrough.